For years as sales professionals, we've been taught the idea of just spray and pray. Send out a bunch of emails and something will come back. It's a numbers game, for goodness sakes. And then we got into the era of the personalization. However, today we're going to talk about something that's revolutionary. We're going to tell you not to personalize. I'm serious. Check it out. Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, I have an energetic, exciting, smart, cool dude that I'm going to chat with. His name is Jordan Crawford, and today on this episode, as I mentioned in the teaser, we're going to change that. Jordan brought something very unique to the table. He's worked with many organizations and helped them to establish their sales processes and helped them to establish their outbound outreach process. And it's fascinating how the principles that he shares are so in line with what's actually working right now, because obviously he's tested it. So I want you to try it and test it. If this is your first time watching one of our videos or listening to our podcast, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave us a rating and review. It would be greatly appreciated. Now, as we dive into this episode, listen to what Jordan says about personalization. Again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but how do we do this at scale and do it effectively? This is a better way. So speak to Donald, so to speak, and tell me why that's the case now.
Well, certainly you outlined the trend pretty well, right? It's like there used to be a time where it was hard to get emails, and then there were these tools that let you, and so it was like first to the cup, right? It was like if you could spam the fastest out of the gate, people would reply because they're, I got it. I was the first one to spam. So people are like, oh, so you didn't have to get your message right. You didn't really have to kind of get the right person. They'd be like, I never get an email. Let me forward you the person, but now everyone has access to the same data. So everyone's saying the same things, and they're trying to get around this with like creativity, right? Like you see this like in LinkedIn now, like, I see you breathe oxygen. Let's connect. Like, I'll just be funny. And like, and this is the problem with personalization is if you're trying to, it's like, I got a connection request the other day. It said, Jordan, are you hiring? Now they could have personalized that to holy hell. Hey, Jordan, I see that you got some, you got teeth and you like to wear glasses and you like to go outside and you like to play, you're like, you're bad at hockey. And like, you could say all that stuff, but I'm still not hiring at the end of the day. Yeah. So you have wasted your time. And so this is the problem with personalization is you're trying to hack attention. And you'll see this too. Like I changed my title to the VP of Sales Enablement at Outreach as a test, just to see how bad cold email has gotten. And in 2 days, Sendoso sent me a book to congratulate me, and I got a physical book in the mail. They didn't have my address. Like, who knows how they got that thing? And this is the world we're living. We live in a world of like, oh, we just need to get someone's attention. But the problem, I was lying on LinkedIn. So yeah, maybe outreach is their prospect. But this is a world of attention. Not does the company have the problem that you solve? The other thing to sort of think about here is that really, it's not the salesperson's fault, to be clear. The way that we got here is that founders just manually sell, which is what they should do, right? They're like, they'll sell to anyone. It's like granny on the street. They'll sell to the coffee bar person. They'll like go to, the plumber. Hey man, thanks for fixing my toilet. Do you want my SaaS software? Like, that's like, and that's fine. Like they got to do what they got to do. But when you start hiring sales reps and you sort of are hitting product market fit, that's where you can invest in great data to understand the problems that companies are struggling with. And just to give you an example, we have job descriptions. That's like kind of our bread and butter. And so we're looking at things like, what are the internal problem challenges that exist inside the sales department or inside the marketing department? What are they talking about, right? Like, so they might talk about reducing their cost of customer acquisition, right? And they might be hiring a lot of marketing folks, and they talk about paid channels, right? So the sum of these three things means they want to invest in paid channels, they want to drive their customer acquisition costs down, and they're expanding the people in their department. So this research, now I have 3 really interesting things about a company that I can speak to, but most importantly, these are the things that my product solves, right? So if you have a product that actually lowers cost of acquisition across 3 or 4 or 5 different channels, and you know who's investing in marketing in multiple channels and is focused on lowering their cost of customer acquisition, it's something you can automate, but that'll take the longest time for a sales rep to find individually. And so it's just much better for a system, and the entire sales and marketing department need to think about what are those things? What do we care about? How do we identify the problems in the market that we solve?
So let's go back to this idea. My team, we want to get started on this right now. Let's say I'm an executive listening to this, or I oversee a team of BDRs, and we're like, crap, this is amazing. What kind of tools do I need to have in my tool stack to be able to execute this effectively?
Yeah, well, the first question is you need to envision your go-to-market in a totally different way. So when we start out with clients, the first thing we do is like, what channels are working, what messaging is working, like what are the top-down inflection moments, like what are the pain moments that your customers like, I need download stuff now, today, like not yesterday, not tomorrow, today, like what's the burning pain? And then do some bottom-up analysis. So what are the existing customers and what are their moments that they bought, right? What are your titles, right? Because go-to-market has like a variety of interesting challenges, right? Like who exactly are you selling to? Like what are those inflection points? What do they care about? And then you can go data shopping, right? Then you can start to say, what would I want to know? So like, for example, SimilarWeb's going to tell you traffic, right? So if you're a tool like Chili Piper and you're improving conversion rates on the website, right? You want to know a couple things. You want to know traffic, right? Because that's important. You want to know business model. B2B, B2C, that's important. You only sell to B2B. You want to know things like, do they already have qualified? Because qualified lets you schedule meetings on your website and have conversations with your leads, right? So that's like built with might be important to you because you want to understand what are the technologies that people are using that might make your service like totally not valuable, right? But you can't start with just like what data exists, because that's the world of tactics. You have to start with what are the inflection points that your customers have, and then how would you tell that? And then the sort of next step there is to score your existing customers by this public rubric data that you're pulling. And if they look like good customers, if 8 out of 10 of them look like good customers without any insider baseball, then you know that you've got it, and then you can kind of scale it. So. And there's like there's just tons of data that you can buy to get this, but unfortunately you have to compile it yourself, and you can't just download a list from ZoomInfo and say I sell to SaaS. It's like, okay, but like what? That's not a thing. The first thing that you mentioned is Sixth Sense. That's like intent, right? They will, and so and in many ways, like the customers that I chat with, they think of this as a magic box. They're like, I don't know how anyone got to this this row, but I know if I like message people in this row that they respond, and that's great. Like Sixth Sense has done like a lot for like, hey, don't worry about who you're targeting or why you're targeting them. We'll just tell you who's searching for your keywords and then go hit them up. And that actually is the kind of next evolution of this, like when the spray and pray worked. Sixth Sense, I think, is kind of the best version of the next step, but it's still not, you still can't control your destiny. You can't control which domains are good fits for you. And so you really need to be able to, figure out what are the data sources that might give you some insight as to the companies that are struggling with the problems that you solve. And like, just to give you like an example here, you might think about what is the number of solutions that they have on their site, right? Which means they have kind of a more complex business model. And so you can buy scrapers to like go pull that types of information. But don't go seek data first. First, understand what are your customers doing, what do they care about, and then you might hire us to like look inside of jobs to like figure out what keywords, how departments are hiring, what are the connections between departments. But you can't just start with the data; you have to start with your customer.
If folks out there listening to this episode want to connect with you and learn from you, what's the best way for them to go about doing so?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, /Jordan Crawford.
That was Mr. Jordan Crawford. If you want to connect with him, you can find all the information down below at Blueprint. Hey, listen, I'm telling you, this stuff is like, it makes so much sense. It's not just actually going out and just pulling a bunch of data as he's shared, but it's also making sure that you understand the issues, the problems that they're facing, and then you could come back with the right solutions in place. Money in the bank. I want you to try this. I want you to test it out. If you want to let me know how it works for you, find me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly, and drop me a note. Also connect with Jordan there as well. As always, we share stuff like this because we want you to succeed and thrive. We want you to find more of your ideal customers. We want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. We want you to close more deals. But most importantly, we want you to go out, raise your level of thinking, and do big things.